So it looks like a pretty good routine for yoking up here. Nice thing about calves, when they're young, you can just move them around a little bit. I know the other school of thought is you drive them up and make them stand right in place. And I think it's, at this point, 6 of one, half a dozen out of the other. And they seem a little distracted with the, looking through the fence and seeing the other animals, and they want to get a little bit of grass. It's one of those, I'd probably pick your battles. Notice here in a second, the one kind of spooks when they get unclipped from their halters, and I also noticed that Tom doesn't make any big deal about that, and so it's just it's a spook, but they're learning that you can trust him. They seem to walk along just nice. And I think just watching how Tom drives with big teams, I think he always wants a team that's going to drive from all kinds of different positions. And so it's just commentary, not really criticism. He's out pretty far in front of the one, and he has to keep tapping it to get it to come into his space. And I think that's, if I was training him, I'd probably stand a little bit closer to his hip and use my presence to push him along. But we're going for a different goal, and I think it's, they're turning just beautifully. The inside animal seems to just really learn to step out along there. He's in complete control. And you just watch, there's economy of motion in his movements. If it's not an instruction to the team, it's not getting entered into the equation, which is really nice to see. My full-size team won't back up nearly as well as this, so that's nice to see. I like the backing right from the side.
Step out, Ben.
I don't do it, but I like to see that.
Step in,
here,
Ben.
Just setting them in and setting them out.
Step out, Jerry.
For people who are beginners, I think this is sort
Jerry.
of middle of the process. So they've
Ben.
really learned it, and I think probably that next step would be say their name first to get their attention, and then just touch them and see if they'll move out. And eventually, the next step would be just say their name and tell them to step out, and they would probably do that. My shorthorns, I got them when they were 6 months old, and we had other fish to fry, so I never really got them where they're comfortable picking their feet up, and it's huge to do that.
All right, so Tom's got a great young team of calves right here, so we're going to put the yoke on them. He's putting the bow on the near animal. And right when they're this young, what you're trying to achieve is just getting the yoke on them, basically. But you want to set goals for yourself. So when they get a little bit bigger, they get a little bit better at standing still and listening to voice commands. How are you going to change things up a little bit, especially around yoking and other tasks, to make it easier for you and make it easier for them? And right now, you're just trying to achieve getting the yoke on. So he's putting near bow in. And there's some distractions around him. So he dropped the bow. There's things going on in the background. It's awesome. He's taking the leads off, which is exactly what he should do. You see that off one got spooked a little bit. That's not bad, because they need to get used to things going on around them. As long as you control the situation, that's actually part of the training. So perfect. So he's pulling a little tire here. They look like they're walking very well together. Tom has a great style. He's very calm and collected with the animals, doesn't really raise his voice, which he talked about in one of the other videos, which is really great, especially with young calves, because they will mirror your attitude. If you're hot, they're going to be hot. So it's important to not let calves get frustrated or burned out on something, if that makes sense. So how you approach them is very important. So he made a haw turn. I think he's going to come up and make a G turn. The only thing that you can adjust a little bit is anytime you're pulling a chain, instead of just making one smooth turn, you can also stop them, sidestep them around, or train them to sidestep, and then come forward, sidestep a little bit more until you've completed your turn. That way, because part of what we're doing with the chain, any chain work, is to keep the chain off their legs. So he's backing them up, doing great. You can see that off one is throwing his head a little bit. Sometimes we suggest just taking the stick and tapping it on the ground and don't even make contact with the animals, and sometimes they won't do that. Okay, sidestepping. training them to put in and put out as part of the training
out,
process
Jerry.
should be done every day with calves, every time you work
Step
with
in,
them, and
Jerry.
even if they're tied up in the barn.
Whoa.
That way, when you start
Step
to train
out,
them on
Ben.
an implement sidestepping,
Whoa.
they'll be much more
Step
proficient
out,
at
Jerry.
it. The only thing I might suggest is
Stand in, Jerry.
there's kind of a
Whoa.
gap between when the animal
Stand in,
hears
Ben.
the command, it
Whoa.
registers, and then they take an action. So you can give them the command, let them think about it, and then push them in the direction you want to go. Picking up hooves, so important, really, for young calves to be trained to pick up their hooves. Something, again, that should be done all the time. You see, they're letting him do it because he's done it with them before. So, awesome work.
Right. You got a beautiful set of Holstein calves there. I love their stars on their heads. And see, they're nice and quiet. The only difference in your yoking and mine is I was in a confined area. We didn't have any halters on them. We just had them confined in a little pen. And I'm going to start doing like you are. I will bring them outside of the pen and put the yoke on without halters outside of the pen. I don't think there'll be any problem. They may try to drift a little bit, but they're quiet. My cattle are quiet, or ours. I should say ours. Your cattle a little heavier than ours, but they do handle about the same as ours. Today, when we used them, they were having a tired day. They hadn't been hooked up for about a week, and they weren't too ambitious. I noticed when you were having them stand out and stand in, I think that's a good thing to teach them. Mine, I would try to use coaxing them in and out with the whip a little bit, just barely nudging them. That's all. They're doing a great job.
Come up, Jerry. Come up, Jerry. Come up, Jerry. Oh. Back then. Back, Jerry. Back then. Back, Jerry. Back then. Back, Jerry. Whoa. Good boys.
I think that's real good. Getting them to learn to back up early. Ours will back up too.
Step out, Jerry. Whoa. Step in, Jerry. Whoa.
I'm looking at your tape right now where you're making them stand out and stand in, and
Step out, Jerry.
I don't know if you could do the same thing just by nudging
Stand in,
them
Jerry.
with the butt handle
Stand
of
in,
your
Ben.
whip.
Whoa.
I'm not too much of a hands-on unless it's for giving them security or when I'm telling them they did a good job. And that's great work with working with the feet. It's handy when you got to trim their feet if you can do it.
So here we're yoking up the calves. These are 10-week-old pure Holsteins. This is only the third time I've driven this team. This is my son's team, and I've been trying to stay hands-off so that he does it all, and he learns and they learn, and they end up being his, not mine. But he was a little camera shy, so he's behind the phone here, and I'm in the front with the team. So I always start off, I tie him to a fence or a gate, hold them still while they're being yoked. My bigger teams, I just walk up to them out in the pasture, pull them together, and they stand there for me, and I put the yoke on. But that takes a while to get to that point. I do a lot of off the site work. I'm going to different logging jobs with mine, so my big team, their 12-inch yoke weighs almost 100 pounds, so I often yoke them in the trailer and back them out with the yoke on so I don't have to lug it around. Here we're dragging a tire around. It's just heavy enough to keep weight on the chain so they're used to pulling something. I'm tapping him on the inside, tapping that nice steer on the inside, trying to make him step out a little bit as we go around. this is a progressional thing. They just slowly get better at it as they go.
Come on, Ben. Step out, Ben. Step out, Ben.
It took several tries to get a decent video here. My 12-year-old cameraman kept goofing up, having his thumb in front of the lens or whatever, so they're starting to get tired by the time we're at this point.
Come up, Jerry. Come up, Jerry. Oh. Back, Ben. Back, Jerry. Back, Ben. Back, Jerry.
Here we're backing up.
Back, Jerry. Oh.
It works really good. Keep all your knees in a line. So have your team stand together, have you stand beside them, so all 6 knees are in a line. And then as you move back, as they move back, it works pretty good. I'm also staying further back and kind of holding him where I want him with my butt.
Step out, Ben.
Here we're
Whoa.
practicing step in and step out. You can do this in the barn while they're eating, or those rainy days or tied in their stall. You can just do it inside in the barn. It's a good thing to do. Again, this is like a progressional thing. I'll slowly, once they start getting better at that, I'll just start tapping them with the whip instead of pushing them. Now here I'm picking up their feet. This is really handy to teach them this when they're real little. I don't just pick it up for a second. I always, kind of wiggle their toes a little bit, try and make them used to my working on them. And that's it.